Right, this thing's pumping out a lot of oil. We're not sure if it's pulling residual out of the catch can or there's a problem with the turbo, but it's kind of looking like turbo, but we don't want to be replacing turbos, even though it's done nearly 300,000 Ks or whatever, and maybe it should have got a turbo in hindsight. Just gonna give it a little, let it warm up, give it a little bit more revs, and see if it clears up, see if it's just pulling the oil down from the pipe in the catch can. Catch cans are a pain in the you know what. Let's have a listen to the turbo. The engine's misfiring under load from all the oil in the engine, I believe. This is having a look at the intake. You can see it's full of oil, which would say evidence of, there's nothing else here that can cause this amount of oil to be going through the intake. Turbo internal seals blown, letting oil pass through. So therefore, coinciding with a whine that's abnormal, turbo's flogged. Should have got a new turbo with the engine, but weren't to know, so there you go. It's the other end, heaps of oil in there. Okay, so that's down where it's coming from the intercooler. Sucks it up pretty well. Look at that, it's absolutely soaked. Absolutely soaked. All right, let's get in there and have a look in this turbo, see what we can see. There you go, look at all the oil. Oil coming up, big time from in there. Hey everyone, I don't know how unlucky you could be blowing an engine and a turbo at the same time, but anyway, this is that engine replacement. I just wanted to give everyone a bit of a warning, something to be aware of. We don't do that many engines, but in the years we've been doing these engines, at the start I used to get the turbos checked out by the turbo guy, but of course, you know, you got to travel, it's got to get there and back. If they spend time on it, it costs money, blah blah blah, all that sort of thing. So, and there was never an issue, so we reverted to doing our own inspection, check for play, visual sort of thing. And of course, mention to the customer, when you do an engine, depending on kilometres, might be worth doing a turbo while it's out. I mean, the turbo's not cheap, but either's the engine, and it's free labour while the engine's out because the turbo's coming off, okay? And of course, the turbo gasket kit's worth about $100, so it saves wasting that as well. And of course, coolant and whatever, and you do it again separately. So the lesson is, we've got to take a lesson from it. What's the lesson? So this one, new engine, we started up, no worries. But then as we start to rev it a little bit, it's pouring the blue smoke out the back. And of course, not good. You know what's going on there. So we did our checks, whatever, to see. Yep, plenty of oil in the intake. And it's just pulling it from the turbo. That internal seal's obviously gone. So now, although the job was pretty much finished, back into it again, doing a turbo replacement on the vehicle with the engine in the car, which is a bit more difficult. So I just thought I'd put it out there. Anybody that comes to us for an engine, every time we do an engine, we do discuss the turbo. On one hand, it's not worth wasting thousands of dollars replacing a turbo if it doesn't need it. But on the other hand, you've just wasted a bit of labour if it turns out that way. So our lesson is, we're going to do a bit more of an inspection, and when we see oil, we saw a bit of oil, but a lot of oil, whatever. I mean, it's got a cracked piston. We see a bit of oil, that's what happens. So it's a bit hard to sort of tell that there's a problem. Of course, it didn't feel like it had any unusual amount of play or anything like that, so nothing noticeable, but it's pouring oil into the wrong places. So lesson learned. Bada bing, subscribe, turn the bell on, and we'll catch you on the next one. Oh, so in case anyone's wondering, turbo replacement, depends where you get it done. I know people that will change turbos for $400 or $500, but to be quite honest, in my workshop, it's going to be about $770 and upwards of there, just depending if there's any complications, because it's a big job. There's rusty bolts, they're awkward to get out. You can have a crack and do it yourself if you want. I'm sure if Lewis is watching this video, he knows what I mean. He thought he'd have a crack himself, and it was a good learning experience, but it took him many, many hours. I think he spent days changing it, to be quite honest. And on your first ones, that's how it could go. And if you have, like we had that one not that long ago on the Hilux, that the ex-mine vehicle, and it had, you know, rusted nuts and bolts all over the joint, whatever. Lucky with this one, we know it's going to be a straightforward swap. We'll look after him a little bit. It's a bit unfortunate, so it's going to be obviously, you know, discounted to as far as we can. It's just one of those unfortunate things, but the lesson is be prepared, because you might be delayed getting your vehicle back if we haven't got space available to replace the turbo separately as a separate job after the engine. So something to think about for if it happens to you. Would you replace your turbo if you're putting a new motor in? Because it is certainly an optional thing. And while you're thinking about it, think about the radiator. Would you replace the radiator? I recommended it on this one. We were going to do that, but then we saw it was in pretty good condition. It is aftermarket, but it's in good condition. It's been replaced before. I'm going to take a guess that someone probably broke that tab off the top, how that happens. Anyway, so we left that there. It's nice and clean. I guess that's a video. Catch you on the next one. Hey everyone, okay, now we've got a new turbo on this new engine, so hopefully we've got an improvement compared to what it was before. I might start it up, let's see what happens. Oh, beautiful! Have a listen to that, mate. Give it a few gentle revs. Doesn't that sound better? Absolutely beautiful. Switch it off. Okay, mate, start it up. Might get a tiny little puff. It's going to take a while for all that excess oil to purge out, but most of it's gone. Okay, give it a nice little rev like before to compare to what we had before the turbo. Massive improvement. Look at that. Absolutely beautiful. All right, so isn't that a beautiful thing? So all conclusions are good once we get to the conclusion, and usually things go to plan, but this was just one of those odd ones where, once again, I looked at the turbo again, and there's absolutely no play, no way you could do a visual other than, look, we knew there was a bit of oil, but, you know, when you get a cracked piston, this often happens where, you know, oil's everywhere and all this sort of thing, so things aren't the way they're supposed to be. So it can be a bit hard to go, you know, so it's the first time it's happened. So, you know, someone would say, oh, that's why we always do a turbo when we do an engine. Well, good point. But remember, the retail price from Toyota for a turbo now is nearly $4,000. And then you've got your gasket kit and whatever. So, you know, at the end of the day, obviously we get them cheaper and we sell them cheaper as well. That's why people come to us. We've got them in stock on the shelf for situations like this. Outside, not part of the plan, but, you know, we're going to get it all sorted out. Now, a bit more conclusion on the battery and the fuse. We're not there yet. If you've been watching the videos, obviously the fuse isn't blown, it's melted. I'm not sure why. We've done the whole engine R&R. In our opinion, the auto electrical is a catastrophe. That's why this one goes to another earth to the body, and then from the body to the, so it's like a double of what that one on its own didn't work. You don't trust that on its own. Like, each to their own, but look, personally, it works, but I don't earth to alloy. That's alloy, okay? I don't bother with alloy. I want the cast iron block. If I'm going to go all the way to the engine, I'm going to go on the cast iron block somewhere, which again is going to be hard to get to. I don't want to go on alloy heads. It'll work, but there's just something, I don't know, I can't remember. But when I was in tech school, I reckon we learnt about conductors and insulators, and, you know, and there's good conductors and bad conductors. And from memory, I don't reckon alloy was like the best. You know what I mean? Like the posts of the battery, they're not alloy, they're lead. Now, you can put a screw in over top and damage battery terminals. We're going to a battery video now, but that's because lead's soft. So if it was better to use alloy, so you didn't damage them, and then they use it, but alloy's not, you know, lead's what it's all about. So anyway, whatever. You know, copper and all that stuff, better things, you know. The metal of the body of the vehicle, being this whole massive big car, is like a massive piece of steel. And if you've got a good connection, look at that. Factory point uses, you can look all over the vehicle and find earth points to the body of the vehicle. It just works really well. But anyway, each to their own, whatever you want. All my battery systems, I just go from there to there, and it's absolutely beautiful. Causes no problems whatsoever. This battery, rubbish. So both batteries got charged. Then they sat there for a few days while we did the engine, just for your info. Engine replacement jobs, 3 days work to do it properly. Now, some people might go, oh, you know, we do it in a day, we do it in 2 days. And some people, they'll take weeks and weeks because with all the comebacks when you add it all together with all the missing nuts and bolts and clips, and then 3 years, 5 years, 7 years down the track with the wires that are rubbed through and the vacuum lines that are, all the things that didn't get put back factory, we do it properly, okay? So it's just right the first time. Anyway, charged up the batteries, then they sat there for a few days. That one's still 12.71, so that battery's good. The customer has now confirmed that that's only a couple of years old, so that's good. This one was in there when he got it, which was, I think he said over 5 years ago. That was on 11 volts, so that's rubbish. So that's why I don't want this alternator and this electrical system connected to rubbish. And I don't do battery replacement. I haven't got a battery here. This is the engine replacement hospital. So we've just left that disconnected and well insulated over here. And that's the earth up there out of the way. So bada bing, just letting you know what's going on there. Is that a contributor? Could a battery of this type with a fault cause that main fuse to get so hot? I don't know. I don't know the answer. Okay, so this engine job's done. There's some final checks to go. A few more things that need to be done on the vehicle, like replacing the fuse. That'll be one of the next jobs. He's heard that catch cans are no good from someone, not me, but of course I'd agree with that. So he or we, someone's going to be ordering that pipe that comes up. We've got the little elbow, but we don't have the pipe. We don't keep that in stock because why would we? If you've got a catch can, buy the pipe and get rid of the catch can, possibly before it causes you some issues, and it won't be in the way causing extra work when work needs to be done. It's in the way of inspecting things. It's in the way of connected to the body. It hasn't damaged anything yet, but anyway, you know what I mean. Catch can, snatch can, whatever, right? What else? Yeah, it's going to need bushings for the suspension. The tyres are flogged. I don't know if you've seen that video. Is that one out yet? You know, it's going to need suspension, all that sort of thing. So there's still a few grand to spend on it, but at the end of that, he's got a nice Kakadu with a new engine, new turbo, new heart and the beast. Everything's new fuel filters and a few bits and pieces like that. I don't have a problem with the cabin filter. Sorry, the cabin filter got replaced. That was Cactus. I don't have a problem with the K&N filter, is what I meant to say, because we run them ourselves, and so do a lot of people we know, and they're the cleanest top of the airboxes I've seen, as demonstrated in the video on this one. So that's a bada bing, bada boom. This one's as good as done for now, but we'll have another video. If it's manageable, replacing that fuse, it's going to be a difficult one, and it's going to take some time, and it's going to be hard to video, but I'll give you what I can. So subscribe, turn the bell on so you don't miss it. Catch you on the next one. See ya.